I appreciate you guys coming. I think this issue of Iran is very important. And I would just like to say before I ask my questions, I was really alarmed this weekend when I was hearing rumblings, not just from the administration, but from members of my own party, that the way to deal with what's going on in Iraq is to work with Iran. And I think that that's died down a little bit, and I think rightfully so. We do not have mutual interests with Iran. They are diametrically opposed, and they are a mortal enemy of the United States. And I think that the imposition of a Sunni Sharia state in the Levant is contrary to our national interests. But I also think we have to recognize Iran is a mature terror state and a mature Sharia state. So aligning to them would not serve our national interests. And I would just say, given that, I'm concerned about the administration's decision to continue to send money to this unity government with the Palestinian Authority. They may have a veneer of technocratic leadership, but Hamas is a part of that government. That money is going to end up going to Hamas in one way or another, given that money is fungible. And guess who that aligns us with? That aligns us with Iran, because they send money and they fund Hamas. And so I'm going to be working with some of my colleagues to stop that money while Hamas is a part of that government. And I think that's very important. Professor George, I appreciated what you said, and I think you described kind of our history with religious liberty and establishments very ably. But I wonder, in terms of viewing Iran, and I think you said, look, they're going to have their own system. Maybe they have an established church or whatnot. But it's more than just that. I mean, these Ayatollahs, their version, how they want to have a Sharia society, it's much more than just religion. It's a whole kind of socio-political totalitarian ideology. And so you could look in, like, the United States, even after the Constitution, we had states like Connecticut that had established churches still, but they were not active in that way. So I guess this idea of Sharia being so broad seems to me to be more than just about whatever religion you believe in, because there are millions and millions of people who are Muslims who do not subscribe to the overall political ideology that comes with that.
Yes, that's absolutely right. You can have an established religion. In the United States, we prefer not to have that. We disestablished our churches in the States. I think the last ones died out in the 1830s. But Britain has the Anglican Church. It has an established religion, but it is respectful of the rights of religious minorities. I lived in Britain myself for 5 years when I was a graduate student and as a visiting scholar. I was not a member of the established church, but I was entirely free to practice my own religion. So we wouldn't want to say to the British, well, you have an obligation under human rights to disestablish the Anglican Church. They might, for their own reasons, wish to disestablish.
And when you lived there, the Anglican Church did not permeate society to the detriment of other people, correct?
That's exactly right.
Although they do discriminate against our Catholic people on who can be on the throne.
Yes, I think that's still true. Yeah, I believe that is still true. But you've put your finger on the real problem. It's not that there is an official religion as such. It's that that in the name of this theocratic rule, a kind of totalitarianism is imposed. All dimensions of life are under control of the theocratic rulers. No one else's rights are respected. No one who is not a member of the faith. And even those who have dissenting opinions about politics within the Shia faith are persecuted. I mentioned one of the Ayatollahs. I showed a picture of, I'll do it again here, Ayatollah Borujerdi, who himself is a Shia, but is nevertheless persecuted because he speaks out on behalf of the rights of non-Shia Muslims and non-Muslims.
And so, and just to kind of flesh that out, and maybe Mr. Edamati, you can speak. So in Iran, if you convert away from Islam, that's a crime, correct?
Yes.
And you would be punished. What type of punishment could you get? You could potentially be put to death for that?
Yes, exactly.
And I've been following this. I think during the Easter season, the government raided Christian churches. That would be something that would be par for the course there?
Yes.
You can be convicted of a crime if you insult Islamic sensibilities. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Yes.
And Iran still imposes severe punishments such as stonings and mutilation under their law,
Yes,
correct?
unfortunately,
And is that something that is called for by Sharia law, or where do they come from, these punishments? How are those developed?
it comes from Sharia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I read that the Ayatollah Khamenei was speaking about freedom, and he says, Iran, we have freedom unlike any other country in the world. And then he pointed to Europe and he says, you know, they talk about freedom of speech, but go ask them about the Holocaust. They're not free to deny the Holocaust. Like, we don't know whether, he says, we don't know whether it existed or not. And so in his mind, he thinks that because we don't have these grand debates about what something that's obvious, if you study history, that somehow we don't have freedom of speech. But I think what his freedom, and this is somehow, we talk past folks in the Middle East when we say, well, why wouldn't they want freedom? Some people, such as these Ayatollahs, they believe for them freedom is freedom to live under Sharia, correct?
Yes.
And so when we say freedom, they view the freedom differently than we do. But I think that what you guys have testified about is very important. I'm 100% behind the people in Iran who are struggling for freedom. I think the tragedy of this Islamic revolution is that it's really served to snuff out a lot of the vitality that you had seen historically throughout Persian society. And I know that there are a lot of people in Iran who are suffering under the yoke of this dictatorship who would be like-minded with folks, not just in the United States, but throughout the West. So I commend you guys for speaking out, and I commend the chairman for holding this committee. And with that, my time has expired, and I will recognize the gentleman from Rhode Island for a period of 5 minutes.